Unless you've been living under a rock, you've probably seen over the past 2 weeks that US President Donald Trump has once again threatened annexing Greenland, or striking a deal to buy it, arguing that doing so is a matter of national security. Russian and Chinese ships and a growing military activity in the Arctic are often cited as justification, but there's another key factor behind Trump's renewed interest: rare earth minerals. Viewers may remember that just a few months ago, Trump was fixated on rare earths, even signing a deal with Ukraine that would allow the US to share in the profits from their extraction and processing. And now he's back at it again with Greenland. But there's a major problem here. Despite Greenland's abundant natural resources, most of its rare earth deposits are effectively locked away, frozen under ice, and thus too expensive to extract. So in this video, we're going to explain why Trump is so eager to secure rare earths, and why the hype surrounding Greenland's rare earth potential might be seriously overblown. We sometimes make mistakes in our videos, and when we do, we think it's really important for us to be as open and transparent as possible. That's why we have a bi-weekly podcast called The Editorial, where we respond to your criticisms, answer your questions, and explain what we got wrong. Watch the show by clicking the link in the description. First, we should probably start by explaining what rare earths actually are. Essentially, rare earths are a set of 17 metallic elements, often separated into light and heavy, depending on their atomic number. The rare in their name is actually somewhat misleading. The US Geological Survey describes them as relatively abundant in the Earth's crust. However, they are jumbled together with many other minerals, which makes their extraction not only really difficult, but also very polluting and chemically intensive. Their main direct use are magnets and catalysts, which respectively account for 29 and 20% of all use. However, this disguises quite how ubiquitous they are today. In fact, they're in so many things that it's hard to know quite how dependent we are on them. They're especially important for high-end technology, including semiconductors and military tech. A single F-35, for instance, requires nearly 500 kilograms of rare earth elements. Now, China absolutely dominates across the entire rare earth supply chain, accounting for 60% of all rare earth mining globally, and more importantly, over 90% of processing. This is in part because China is blessed with abundant reserves. Almost 50% of the world's mineable deposits, more than twice as many as second-place Brazil, and almost 20 times as many as in the US. But it's also a consequence of the fact that, other countries are just unwilling to accept the environmental costs involved in processing. And China, they have conspicuously lax environmental regulations. Today, much of the world relies heavily on China for its rare earth elements, which has concerned the US and China-skeptic European countries, especially as China has a history of weaponizing its market dominance. In 2010, for instance, China halted exports of rare earth metals to Japan for months over a fishing dispute, causing a massive price spike. These concerns intensified last October, when amid a full-blown trade war with the US, China imposed strict new controls on rare earth exports, requiring licenses for products containing even trace amounts, and cutting off supplies of one particular rare earth, samarium, to US defense contractors linked to Raytheon, the makers of Tomahawk missiles. While the US and China did eventually manage to negotiate a deal, the Trump administration has been trying to reduce its dependence by looking to secure alternative rare earth sources. To this end, the Pentagon has taken a stake in MP Materials, a US-based rare earth company, signed a so-called minerals deal with Ukraine, and is now eyeing up Greenland too. Trump isn't the only one either. The EU has also been in talks with Greenland officials about securing a mining deal, and a handful of American tech tycoons who see heavy rare earths as critical to sustaining the AI boom are also interested. And at first glance, this seems to make sense. Greenland sits on some of the oldest continental crust on Earth, and is extremely rich in natural resources, including everything from oil to iron ore to gold. The island also ranks 8th in the world for rare earth reserves, with an estimated 1.5 million tons, although that's still way behind the US, China, Brazil, Vietnam, India, and Australia. A 2023 Danish Geological Survey identified at least 50 locations with mineral potential, with 2 key deposits located in southern Greenland, Kvanefjeld and Chambers. Kvanefjeld contains significant light and heavy rare earth elements, And Tambreez also has a high amount of heavy rare earths, which are harder to find and more valuable, and apparently contains 27% heavy rare earths compared to a typical deposit average of between 5 and 10%, making it one of the most valuable underdeveloped REE resources in the world. However, in our view, there are at least 3 reasons why Trump's obsession with Greenland's rare earths just don't make sense. First, despite Greenland's extraordinary mineral wealth, no commercial rare earth mining has yet occurred on the island. This is largely because more than half of the mineral sites identified by the 2023 Danish Geological Survey lie north of the Arctic Circle, where temperatures can drop below -40 degrees Celsius, making extraction extremely difficult and expensive, if not impossible. While projects like Tambreez and Kvamefield, located on Greenland's ice-free southern tip, could be more viable, there are still a number of obstacles. In 2021, for instance, a uranium mining ban blocked the development of the Kvamefield project, as uranium, which is highly polluting, is also present in these deposits. Furthermore, Greenland has very limited mining infrastructure and poor transport links, which means that launching new construction from scratch will be extremely expensive, and Washington might just be better off trying its luck elsewhere. Other countries like Brazil, India, and Australia, for instance, all have significantly larger and more accessible reserves than Greenland. Second, when China isn't halting exports, rare earths just aren't that expensive, and the US would just be better off stockpiling in the same way it does with oil. The total rare earth market is valued at just $3 to $4 billion globally, and the US imports only $170 million worth per year. While this figure does understate America's reliance on rare earths, because most of America's rare earth imports are already folded into components and products, the point we're trying to make is that the US could easily afford a stockpile, which is actually something that Japanese companies have been doing since 2010. It's also worth noting that since China's rare earth dominance has become a problem, other countries have already been working to develop rare earth substitutes for things like magnets. In India, for instance, automakers and parts suppliers have accelerated testings of ferrite magnets, which are less efficient but geopolitically safer than rare earth magnets. Taiwan's government is also encouraging local companies to recycle and refine rare earths to ensure a stable domestic supply. The point we're making is that there's lots of ways to reduce America's reliance on Chinese rare earths, short of annexing a new territory. Whether or not you believe that the new year brings a new you, there's always pressure to find some way to better yourself when January rolls round. But where do you even start? Building new healthy habits isn't always easy to jump straight into. So that's why we always turn to Brilliant. That's because Brilliant focuses on real transformative learning, all on adapting to your own established skill level. It starts you at the right level based on your background, designs practice sets and reviews, all personalized for you. Brilliant helps you to advance at your ideal pace, giving you the best chance to stick to your learning goals. For example, even if you're not a maths person, Brilliant will push you towards achieving what you didn't think was possible. Their comprehensive catalogue takes you from foundational maths through to algebra, all the way to college-level calculus, with more and more courses being added each month. Brilliant has truly helped us to expand our skill set and kept us coming back every day to create those habits which help us grow. Suddenly, it's not so hard to stick to your resolutions. To start the new year right and begin or continue your learning journey, you can try Brilliant for free for a full 30 days. Just go to brilliant.org/TLDR, scan the QR code on screen, or click the link in the description. And Brilliant has also given our viewers 20% off an annual premium subscription, which gives you unlimited access to everything on Brilliant.